Welcome to HelloWorld video number 2. Let's review a little bit from the first video. We talked about the application development process of gathering business requirements, making architectural decisions, coding an app, testing, deploying, up through the pipeline from the developer's workstation to the continuous integration server to dev to QA to production. And we talked about installing the JDK, and then I went over a little bit of the setup of the environment variables to get the JDK working on Windows 10. This time, let's actually code the HelloWorld application using Java now that we have the JDK set up. So a couple new concepts. One is an integrated developer environment, IDE. I'm just going to be using Notepad to code the Java application, but obviously you can get a lot more fancy than that. There's a text editor called Atom, which is popular these days. There's Eclipse, which is more of a full-blown IDE where you can have plugins that do various things. And a popular one that you can pay for is IntelliJ IDEA. Seems to be very popular. It's you can just Google it, but I think it's jetbrains.com. The other concept is version control. I'm not going to be installing any version control, but I'll show you a little trick you can do if there's only one person working on the application. We'll get into this in future videos, but a couple of the popular ones out there are Subversion and Git. So let's get started. Let's open up a command prompt. And go to the temp directory and use Notepad to make our application. And it's just telling me I cannot find that file. Do you want to create it? Sure. First thing we're going to do is just save this as a 0-byte file. You can see we have helloworld.java out there and nothing in there yet. Let's compile that and see what happens. All right, the compiler did not throw any errors, but it also did not create a class file from our source file. That's because helloworld.java as a 0-byte file is a perfectly valid Java file, because a Java file has 0 or more class definitions in it, and we happen to have 0. If you're studying for the Java exam, that could be one of the little trick questions on there. Hint, hint. Now let's edit the file again and just put a comment. Save it again. You can see that now we have 23 bytes in the file. Let's see what happens to it when we compile this time. Still no class file. That's because comments don't really do anything or provide any value in a compiled Java application. So once again, the compiler just processed the perfectly valid Java source file, but did not create a class file. So let's put some actual content in there. Notice how the class name has to match the Java file name, and case sensitivity does matter. So this would not be a match. This is a match. Now, curly braces. Boy, you can get into holy wars about where to put the curly braces. Some people like to put them, the opening curly brace at the end of a line and the closing curly brace down here. And other people, myself included, like to line up the curly braces. Makes it easier just to visually look at the application and see what you got going on. So let's save it like this. Compile one more time. Okay, now we have a class file. That means something we can run. But what happens when we run it? Well, there's an error because it says the main method is not found. Every class that you define has to have a main method, and it even tells you how to define it. Public static void main string args. So just so we get our typing right, let's copy that. And let's go back in and make our main method. Another thing that causes holy wars is whether to use tabs or spaces. I'm just going to use a couple of spaces of indent. Paste this in. Opening curly brace. Closing curly brace. So now we have a class with an open and closing curly brace and a main method like it told us we needed. So let's see if this makes the compiler happier. Yep. But when we run, it, but nothing happens. Well, that's because we haven't told the program to do anything. It's a perfectly valid main method, but it doesn't do anything. So let's do something. 2 indents to get to my curly braces. 2 more to get to where we're going to do something. So I'm not going to get too much more into Java syntax. There's plenty of good tutorials online if you want to get into Java programming and figure out what syntax is. But basically, this is just going to print a message, print a line out to system out that says hello world. Compile it once again. And if I can find it, run it once again. Hey, look at that. And that'll do it. This will just be a short video. We'll get into another topic in the next one. More exciting videos later.